This is an off-the-shelf video, and I'm going to be looking at this game, Behind Enemy Lines, World War II role-playing game. So Behind Enemy Lines, subtitle World War II role-playing game. The company is The Companions. I can honestly say I've never heard of this company. But yeah, Behind Enemy Lines by The Companions, World War II role-playing game. Wonderfully evocative World War II photo. Looks like a U.S. GI in winter setting. First of all, why World War II role-playing game? Must have been sometime in the last couple of years. Reading online, I saw a discussion that went, I can't remember the details, but it went something along the lines of somebody asking if there were any good World War II role-playing games out there. And I was just browsing. I was not looking at RPGs and not looking for World War II RPG, but just browsing online, followed this discussion. And interestingly, the first few responses were along the lines of, well, such and such a system has a World War II supplement, and so on and so forth. Several of these. Some of those were, let's say, real world. Some of those were kind of, alternate history, mixture of fantasy and history and stuff. Nothing surprising, kind of what I would have expected. A discussion like that, things I would expect in a discussion like that. But I was actually a little surprised when somebody responded after those types of responses referring to a World War II supplement of a larger RPG system. Somebody actually responded with, hey, have you ever heard of Behind Enemy Lines? First time I had heard of it, and I definitely was, caught my eye. I was intrigued, stuck in the back of my mind. Then I went to actually research online, find this, Behind Enemy Lines. I mean, if anything, I was curious what it really looked like. Was it, I don't know, was it along the lines of realistic role playing, or was it kind of, I don't know, tongue-in-cheek, parody, I don't know, entertaining World War II role-playing game? I can't imagine something like that would be very successful, but you never know, and I've been surprised. So found very little on Behind Enemy Lines. I basically, when I went out to find out about this game, I figured out that yes, it did exist, but there's virtually nothing on it. So I figured, okay, I'll probably never find this game, let it go, right? And then several months ago, I actually was online looking for war games to buy, and I saw Behind Enemy Lines in unused condition. Behind Enemy Lines unused, and I definitely snatched it up right away. I thought, if anything, I'll just buy it up and have it on hand if I ever want to take a closer look at it. And so it arrived. It surprised me because it was shrink wrapped original. I have no way of knowing, but so took the shrink wrap off, and sure enough, it's unused. And so again, very evocative cover there. And by the way, the back of the box is blank now, but actually, so when I got the box and I took the shrink wrap off, the box has this kind of back sheet that was just there on the back. First of all, what was I expecting? I did not have a lot of expectations at all. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. Again, because I hadn't found much online about it, and I wasn't sure how exact. Really, I guess I'm not that much into RPGs that I didn't really know what a World War II role-playing game would be like which direction they would take. Now, I played Top Secret some many years back when I was younger, and I was thinking that if this game is anything like Top Secret, I was thinking that it would be, good enough for me. It would be, it would be good enough if it was anything like Top Secret. So this is the back. Got some nice descriptive text. I'll say this already, although I'm going to show this throughout the game. The game uses a lot of what obviously looks like real wartime pictures, but what I noticed is many of the pictures are not typical. Too many games reuse the same small sliver of stock photos. One thing I did notice is that a lot of unusual photos, wartime photos. I like that a lot. But anyways, so here's kind of the background. World War II was a grand drama played by the century's most interesting characters. Armies moved over vast distances, fought momentous battles, and made history, etc. And then up here, behind enemy lines, takes characters from all walks of life and places them in disparate combat against impossible odds. The attributes, skills, and military training of the player character are all that stand between victory and defeat, behind enemy lines. From the mountains of Italy to the hedgerows of Normandy, from the banks of the Seine to the fortifications of the Siegfried Line, the players act as members of the infantry squad, armed with the M1 Garand, I gotta figure out how to say that right, Garand rifle, finest infantry combat weapon ever devised, according to General Patton, the Thompson submachine gun, and the bazooka. They will take on the best the Wehrmacht can throw at them. Sounds interesting enough, and so I said, having played Top Secret, having played the original Gamma World a little bit, seems to me perfectly, perfectly believable that you could have a pretty cool World War II role-playing gaming experience. Now, I guess I understand why. I mean, why hasn't World War II role-playing gaming taken off, and why does it not have more of a place in wargaming hobby more generally? I understand impact of fantasy and sci-fi and etc. And I also should say, when I got this, I never actually intended, I don't actually ever intend to play it as a role-playing game. I might, though. And if I do, that'll definitely be something to put on video. But why did I get this if I never intended to play it as an RPG? I actually got it for two reasons. One, of course, good games, especially older games. I'll say newer games, for some reason, don't seem to be good. Okay, let me say, it's a good source material, right? I was hoping that it would be good source material for game design. And so I'll say again, older games are good for this. Newer games don't seem to be good for this at all. Maybe that's a topic for another video. But yeah, so for source material, one. And two, basically, it has, and again, it goes back to game design. I don't have a huge interest in individual soldier scale gaming. I do like everything about organizations, whether it's the fire team, squad, platoon, company, etc. But I do know that if I'm ever going to look at designing, well, no, let me back up. When I think of individual soldier scale gaming, I always think that it might as well be done either as an RPG, which is exactly what Behind Enemy Lines is, or even if it's like a hex encounter game or a miniatures game, it at least should have a lot of RPG elements in it, right? So given that, I was curious in a game design sense how Behind Enemy Lines does it again, how they approach that. And so if I were to ever look at designing or even just playing like miniatures at the individual soldier scale, I mean, I imagine a World War II role-playing game like Behind Enemy Lines could be used as the foundation for that. And you could just build up from there. I mean, you have terrain, individual models for individual soldiers, and you could fight out firefights as a miniatures war game, but also using an RPG foundation as well. So that's why I got Behind Enemy Lines, never actually thinking that I would play it as an RPG as designed. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe I will try it as an RPG. I don't know. But that's not why I originally got it. So here's the game contents, and we'll take a look at them. So right away, notice the 3 6-sided dice that remind me of... so this is published in 1985. 1985. So it kind of reminds me of mid-80s dice. So 3 6-sided dice. Of course, this is also like the archetype in my mind for Dungeons and Dragons, obviously. So obviously the cool thing right away that I can appreciate is that this is made to look like a War Department World War II era field manual, 21-100. So this is the soldier's handbook. So this would be like the player's handbook. So let's soldier's handbook. Table of contents, character generation. Guess what you would expect. Attributes, hits to kill. Background, and got home of record, skill points, skill levels. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the skill levels, level 1 semi-skilled, level 2 basic skill, level 3 proficiency, level 4 professional, level 5 expert. Background skills, choosing skills. Then we go to section 3, basic training. Weapon skill levels, acquired skills, skills defined. Under that you have bayonet, first aid, stealth, and silent killing. Section 4, advanced individual training. Skill level, skills defined. Under that is indirect fire, field fortifications, rigging, map reading, compass, mine warfare. And then you have squad tactics, section 6, movement, obstacles, weapons, weapon characteristics, 2 hit on 2d6, ranges, hit dice, rate of fire, number of bursts, reliability, grenades, wounds, and then glossary, character worksheet, character sheet, equipment, weight, and recommended reading. Dice conventions, okay. So again, the not typical World War II era black and white photography. Introduction again, character generation, nice division, U.S. division patches, big, 1st Infantry Division, Big Red 1, 2nd Infantry Division, 3rd Infantry Division, 4th Infantry Division. Nice little added, what do you call that stuff? Flourishes. attributes. So we got strength, physical conditioning, manual dexterity, intellect, constitution, agility, sight, smell, hear. Perception, weight, age. Skill point background. Other than being black and white, I like all of the rainbow division. The little flourishes there. Division insignias. Skill points. Alright, so tables of, I guess, skills like horsemanship, hand weapons, first aid, cooking for survival, canoe, kayak, jeweler, watchmaker, mountain climbing, rock climbing, skiing, swim. Okay, basic training. As you can see, well, certainly as I would expect from RPGs, a lot of text, explaining concepts, probably explaining them at several different levels, like the general concept, maybe background text, and then explaining core concepts and etc. Training photos. Great. Squad tactics. Squad formation for an assault. Okay. Squad column formation, squad file formation. Broken down by soldier position. Squad leader, assistant squad leader. Automatic rifle. Rifleman bar. Grenadier rifleman. Movement. Okay. Some great action photos. Weapons combat chart. So range, short, medium, long, extreme. To hit on 2d6, 8 plus, 10 plus, 12 plus, 14 plus. Kind of reminiscent of Traveler there. Hit dice, okay. Rate of fire. Number of bursts. Reliability. Got pistols, carbines, submachine guns, rifles, support weapons, modifiers, glossary. Okay. Character worksheet. What's the difference? Not sure what the difference is, but they have a character worksheet and a character sheet. Ammunition, equipment, weights, equipment, and full page recommended readings. Let's see what I recognize. Eddie, no. John Keegan, Face of Battle, obviously. Very well known. McDonald's Company Commander. Longest Day. Interesting. Some books to look for. Then we have the commander, what they call a commander's manual. FM 7-11 Bravo /Charlie Mike. Commander's manual has the game mastering, leadership, judging character generation, judging movement, judging combat, explosives, tanks, organizations, weather, information, souvenirs, medals, and decorations. So the Game Master's Guide, game mastering, more introductions. Leadership. Oh, okay, this is a two-page chronology. Yeah, okay, from attack on Pearl Harbor to Churchill and Truman declare VE Day. I'm not sure what this is, but I thought this was interesting. Under leadership, chapter 2, leadership, we got making sergeant. Judging character generation, judging movement. Okay. So basically, it is kind of reminiscent of early to mid 80s RPGs, like a collection of a lot of details, but probably not 100% extensive and comprehensive and airtight. Probably gaps, but it's more than just a sketch of rules. At least looking over the game materials, I can see how I have a better idea of how World War II role-playing could actually work. I mean, if you had any sort of deep interest in World War II, and especially kind of the soldier's view, I mean, maybe if you are already deeply into small unit combat action type hex and counter war games, this could be an interesting complement to that. Pictorial and block and line background material for organizations. I want to say something. Let me see if this helps. Yes, it does help me right here. This is completely extra commentary here. American Regiment. The company has assigned to it 192 men. Okay, broken down into 3 platoons. Each platoon has 38 men assigned, plus a weapons platoon, plus a headquarters. 3 squads. Okay, I'm going to get to my point here. 3 squads each has 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 soldiers. Just want to point out that having been a infantry platoon leader, having been an infantry company commander, and struggled with a platoon, leading a platoon in Iraq, and as a light infantry company commander. So let's just talk about as a light infantry company commander, and I've forgotten the details. Okay, but I think my MTO number, I think, was, what was it? It was it was maybe somewhere around 120. And when I took the company, which was right in the middle of a between deployment period, in other words, I took it at the trough of manning. In other words, the company had come back from Afghanistan, and there had been a huge exodus of soldiers. I took over, and basically I started rebuilding the company through training and getting replacements before deploying to Afghanistan again. At the trough, when I took over, when I was supposed to have something like 118 soldiers, I had something like 65. I mean, I had skeleton squads, skeleton platoons. And the point being that even, and I should point out that every time that I've deployed, the Army has always, in my experience, this may not be everyone's experience, but maybe I was lucky, but the Army always filled out my organization to the max. But it seems that the Army always did that kind of at the last minute, and that doesn't help. Like when I was a platoon leader, I was low on manning as I trained the platoon for deployment, and then I get plussed up basically to 100%, if not 102, 105% manning. But getting those last soldiers, I mean, you're still building the team when you're deploying. So anyways, point I'm getting at is that the Army has had two small platoons and two small squads, two small platoons, and two small companies for too long. In Iraq and Afghanistan, where we were doing kinds of, counterinsurgency and wide area security, you need manning. And we never had enough men, basically. Never had enough men. So when I look at the World War II era and I see these MTOs for 192-man company, that's like, that's excellent. What I would have done with a 192-man company is what I'm getting at. But organizations are too small. You need men. You need men for certain kinds of warfare. Now, you don't need a lot of manpower for every kind of warfare, but you got to figure out what kind of warfare you're going into, and you have to match your organization to the kind of war you're going into. To go into counterinsurgency with small organizations is not the way to go. Completely aside. All right, German organization, weather, information, souvenirs, interesting. Medals and decorations, CIB, Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Legion of Merit, Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart. Nice stuff. Detail stuff. Here we got it's called Operations, FM 100-5, Field Manual 100-5. How to use. Okay. So these are the encounters. Pretty cool. Little sketch maps, backgrounds. So we've got Cat Hunt, June 1944, Normandy, across the Rhine. This would be great. These would be great for again, taking this to miniatures gaming, wargaming. Sketch map. Saint Etienne, August 1944, Brittany. Bird in the hand, in. So, your encounters. I would definitely enjoy leaning on these heavily if I tried actually playing this as an RPG. Cool stuff. Anti-tank gun. Just says 1944 Eastern France. Great stuff. The Farm. Eastern France 1944. So, I guess a good way to get started. And alternatively, source material for miniatures gaming with whatever rule set you wanted to use. And then, infantry reference data. ST. I've already forgotten what ST stood for. Isn't that horrible? Horrible. Yeah. So reference data, all your combat charts, movement charts, hand-to-hand combat charts. Interesting. I mean, definitely interesting enough to consider how this would actually play as an RPG, and then exactly what I was hoping for, enough stuff here to also get use out for other gaming purposes. So glad I found it. Glad I found an unused copy. And so that's Behind Enemy Lines, The Companions, the only dedicated World War II role-playing game that I'm aware of. And if I've missed some, I'm sure I probably have missed some. I can't imagine there are very many dedicated, realistic World War II role-playing games out there. So this has been an off-the-shelf video, and this has been a lot of fun looking at Behind Enemy Lines in more detail.